In just 4 minutes and 7 seconds, 3 Treasury documents changed everything. Reeves didn't expect hidden spending revelations. She expected budget praise. Cameras caught her panic. The Commons watched her crumble. What did I reveal about Labour's secret fiscal commitments that left Britain's Chancellor speechless? At exactly 12:43 p.m. on the 5th of March, 2025, the House of Commons was about to witness the most explosive budget confrontation since the 2008 financial crisis. The chamber buzzed with post-budget tension as MPs prepared for what would become the most devastating economic takedown in parliamentary history. I walked to the dispatch box like a forensic accountant, armed with evidence that would destroy a chancellor's credibility forever. Behind me, Conservative MPs leaned forward in anticipation, sensing their economic narrative was about to be vindicated in the most spectacular way. At the Treasury bench, Chancellor Rachel Reeves sat with forced confidence beside the Prime Minister, her red budget folder suddenly feeling inadequate for the fiscal storm heading her way. Her usual composed demeanor showed subtle cracks that veteran economic journalists immediately recognized as vulnerability under pressure. I adjusted my navy jacket and placed a leather portfolio on the dispatch box containing what my shadow Treasury team had spent 4 weeks assembling. 89 pages of classified Treasury correspondence that would expose Labour's budget as systematic economic deception. Each document had been obtained through parliamentary privilege and verified by former Treasury officials. "Mr. Speaker," I began, my voice cutting through the chamber's anticipatory silence, "I want to ask the Chancellor about hidden commitments in her budget and some very concerning financial arrangements that raise serious questions about this government's honesty with taxpayers and markets." The mention of hidden commitments immediately electrified the government front bench. Reeves's team had prepared for questions about forecasts and spending, not forensic analysis of classified Treasury negotiations that would expose fiscal deception they thought was buried in departmental files. "Mr. Speaker," Reeves replied, her voice steady but lacking her usual chancellorial authority, "this government has delivered the most transparent budget in decades, with full economic forecasts and complete spending commitments clearly outlined for parliamentary scrutiny." The response was textbook Treasury deflection. Acknowledging my question while pivoting to transparency claims that avoided specific accountability. "Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor talks about transparency," I interrupted sharply, "but I have here confidential Treasury planning documents showing £47.3 billion in off-balance sheet commitments that appear nowhere in her budget calculations or economic forecasts." I opened my portfolio with theatrical precision and removed a document bearing Treasury classification stamps. The paper rustled in the silent chamber as I held it up for cameras, ensuring millions of viewers could witness the evidence that would obliterate a fiscal reputation. This internal Treasury memo, dated the 18th of February 2025, explicitly details what officials call contingent spending obligations totaling £47.3 billion across the next 3 fiscal years, hidden from both Parliament and the Office for Budget Responsibility. The revelation detonated like a fiscal bomb. Nearly £50 billion in hidden spending violated every principle of budget transparency. Conservative MPs erupted while Labour MPs sat in financial shock. "Mr. Speaker," Reeves replied, stress betraying in her voice, "the Treasury maintains comprehensive records of all fiscal commitments according to established accounting standards and OBR requirements." "Mr. Speaker, established accounting standards do not permit hiding £47.3 billion in spending commitments under what Treasury documents describe as creative fiscal architecture designed to avoid parliamentary approval and OBR scrutiny." The chamber erupted as MPs processed the implications. "This wasn't creative accounting, Faye. This was systematic fiscal fraud." "Mr. Speaker," I said, removing another document, "I want to ask the Chancellor about her coordination with international investors to manipulate market reactions to her budget announcements." Reeves' face immediately flushed as financial markets entered the discussion. "Mr. Speaker," Reeves replied, panic showing, "the Treasury conducts routine engagement with market participants To ensure economic stability, Mr. Speaker, I replied. Bank of England records show the Treasury provided advance budget details to select institutional investors 72 hours before the Chancellor's statement to Parliament. The disclosure created another constitutional earthquake, providing moving information to selected investors before Parliament violated every principle of market fairness and democratic governance. Mr. Speaker, according to Financial Conduct Authority trading analysis, these investors made £890 million in profits from currency and gilt positions taken after receiving Treasury briefings. At 12:47 p.m., exactly 4 minutes into questioning, both Reeves and Economic Secretary Tulip Siddiq experienced simultaneous political panic as they realized the evidence was overwhelming, interconnected, and publicly documented in parliamentary record. Reeves's hands trembled visibly as she reached for her water glass, while Siddiq frantically shuffled through briefing papers, searching for defensive talking points that could somehow justify systematic market manipulation. The body language was unmistakable. Two senior ministers watching their careers disintegrate in real time. Mr. Speaker, these allegations are completely without foundation, Reeves whispered. The Treasury has never provided privileged information that could disadvantage other market participants. Mr. Speaker, I replied, these briefings were facilitated through what Treasury emails describe as strategic market consultation meetings held at Guildhall on the 1st of March, 2nd, and 3rd. The specificity made denial impossible. This was documented evidence of systematic market manipulation. Meanwhile, the scandal was expanding as my evidence revealed coordination between multiple departments. Mr. Speaker, will the Chancellor confirm that these investor briefings included detailed discussions of tax policy changes subsequently announced in her budget statement? Mr. Speaker, the Treasury engages in consultations according to established procedures. Reeves replied weakly. Mr. Speaker, I have here WhatsApp communications between the Chancellor's private office and Goldman Sachs managing directors discussing specific budget measures and optimal timing for currency positions. The revelation of direct communications with investment banks represented the ultimate breach of market integrity and democratic governance. Furthermore, these messages include Treasury confirmation that certain tax announcements would be deliberately delayed to allow strategic positioning by selected institutional clients. The chamber descended into chaos as MPs processed the full scale of what had been revealed. Conservative MPs were on their feet demanding immediate resignation. Labour MPs sat in stunned silence as the magnitude of fiscal fraud became clear. The Speaker's calls for order were barely audible above the economic outrage that reverberated through Westminster's ancient halls. At 12:49 p.m., after exactly 6 minutes, both Reeves and Siddiq experienced complete ministerial collapse. Reeves buried her face in her hands. Siddiq stared blankly at her notes. Mr. Speaker, I concluded. Based on this evidence, the Chancellor has systematically deceived Parliament about government spending, manipulated financial markets for private gain, and violated every principle of fiscal transparency. Speaker Hoyle called for immediate suspension. The House will suspend for 20 minutes. While I consider the implications for ministerial conduct and market integrity. Within minutes, social media exploded with footage of the ministerial breakdown. Budgetgate trended worldwide within 15 minutes, generating economic controversy that dominated news cycles globally. The pound immediately fell 2.3% as markets processed the implications of systematic Treasury manipulation. The Financial Conduct Authority announced an immediate investigation into potential market abuse. The Bank of England governor expressed grave concern about Treasury market coordination. Goldman Sachs suspended 3 managing directors pending internal investigation. International investors demanded immediate transparency about which institutions had received privileged budget access. The political earthquake continued for days as financial regulators investigated systematic market manipulation. My evidence had exposed not just budget deception, but coordination between government and financial institutions that corrupted the fundamental relationship between democratic governance and market economics. The PMQ session became required viewing in financial regulation courses, demonstrating how parliamentary oversight can expose governmental market manipulation and protect economic democracy from institutional corruption. Sometimes the strongest weapon against fiscal fraud isn't economic theory. It is documentary evidence, perfectly timed, when financial corruption has nowhere to hide. What happens when budget lies meet parliamentary scrutiny? Rachel Reeves learned these lessons when forensic analysis revealed that some market manipulation is too well documented to deny. This dramatized account explores themes of fiscal transparency, market integrity, and democratic oversight of public finances. All dialogue and specific incidents are fictionalized for analytical purposes, while addressing real concerns about government economic accountability and financial market fairness.